Okay, Reginald. Corporate has been concerned about our latest, developments, and wants to evaluate our psyche to see if we are mentally stable.
Sounds asinine and like this should have been an email. But okay.
Say out loud the first word that comes to mind. Understood?
It's easy enough. Crucible. Space goth. Bald. Bald. Dead. Dead. Dead.
Focus, please.
Nerf it. Buff it.
Okay. And lastly...
Finally, this was getting To my fellow commander, Archibald. Violence. Violence is the only language they understand. Today we shall choose violence, and today we shall bring forth a solar march of destruction. Archibald, today we shall let the entire Crucible know the true supremacy of this Leviathan Slayer of a scout rifle. Today we shall not hold ourselves back with secrecy or deceptions meant to bend the wills of the weaker fortified consciousness of the public. Today we shall march with the sounds of war drums and trumpets, descending upon the Crucible and the enemies of darkness like a torrent of fire. Archibald, today I will show you the build that will make every one of our foes bend the knee to the King of Scorch! This build currently sits at the apex of the meta, and yet our poor and unfortunate targets don't even realize it. This might be the best build in PvP, and an amazing option for PvE. It allows the user both access to an explosive round precision weapon with a faster time to kill than every non-last word hand cannon, but it also allows for dodge spamming, and infinite throwing knives, and a guaranteed ignition combo, and infinite range, and if that weren't enough, I rediscovered an old exotic that allows wall hacks and free bonus damage. All of this I will unveil throughout the duration of this letter. So try to keep up with my intelligence until the end of our correspondence. Though it will be in our nature to conceal and hide our build-crafting prowess, today we shall proclaim it loudly to the soon-to-be super-meter fillers. Mercy is for the weak. It is for those who cannot obtain the paragon of supremacy. It is for those who are incapable of standing on their own in the raging scorch of battle. It is for those who arrogantly scoffed at the prospect of change and refused to adapt. It is for those who turned their arrogant faces away from what was off meta. Archibald, it is for those who refuse the power of the Skyburners' oath. Oh, that you could see their pain, that you could see their agony. The terror that wells up in their eyes when their life is but inches from a living ceremony of cremation. It's delicious. The Skyburners will enforce your will in many ways. With a 150 round per minute tempo, and only requiring 3 shots to kill, your weapon, shot for shot, will kill faster than any of the paltry hand cannons that dare to challenge you. And if they are so arrogant as to think cover shall save them, the Skyburners' explosive rounds will forcibly bring them back to reality. Because of the latest buffs to high-impact scout rifles like the Skyburners, you may still eliminate targets even if you hit a body shot, if they have taken even the slightest damage, or if they have minimal resistance. Oh, but there is so much more! Intrinsic to the exotic status of this weapon is the ability to scorch targets when hip-fired. And this is where the fun begins. Allow me to direct your attention to the weighted throwing knife. Powerful, precise, and for some reason packed to the teeth with effects. Indeed, this ability is the Lorentz driver of abilities. It's as if Bungie was drunk one night and decided to just give it everything. Even the common folk are aware of its one-shot headshot potential as well as its chaining capabilities with Knock 'em Down. But some forget that kills with it also recharge your class energy, and hits with it ignite targets. And herein lies the crux of deadliness between it and the Skyburners. The unholy matrimony of even the tiniest scorch stack the Skyburners provides, and the guaranteed ignition from our weighted knife ensures us carnage. Simply hip-firing the Skyburners within the approximate spitting distance of our foes will apply a mild amount of scorch. If this is then immediately followed by our spinning torrent of weighted steel, then no matter what the resilience, our foe shall combust into a burst of regret and defeat! But I know what you are thinking. The setup would take time to trigger, and the ignitions don't refund melees. And how is Reginald so devilishly attractive? And to that I propose one of the following: Ophidius Spaith or Foe Tracers. Either of these two exotics paired with the correct assignment of fragments allows us to shorten the distance between initial enemy suffering and screams of molecular destruction. I will start with the obvious and low-brained choice. Ophidius Spaith grants us a double knife charge. This obviously allows us one extra shot of serrated flying steel to hurl at the enemies. If you elect to operate with this exotic, be sure to run Gambler's Dodge, as you can recharge both knives with just one well-placed flip. This will suffice for beginners in this mid-range kill vacuum well enough, but I think the real evil lies in the long and forgotten about Foe Tracers. In case you were like Bungie and had forgotten that this helmet even existed, allow me to refresh you. Dealing damage and looking at enemies marks them with an X. They will stay marked and visible through surfaces for about 6 seconds. With this, we can more easily hunt down and eliminate the contenders who dared thought themselves sufficient to our challenge. This synergizes perfectly with the Skyburners. Not only are we able to more easily splash damage enemies huddled in fear behind cover, but it also allows the Skyburners even more leniency in killing off of 2 heads in 1 body shot. You see, Archibald, the Foe Tracer has yet another part of its perk. A lost and forgotten about part. As a marked target's health gets lower, they take more damage. This damage threshold is when the target has 30% or less of their health remaining, or 135 or 140 damage taken, depending on resilience. This places the Skyburner to perfectly meet that 140 plus damage threshold with 2 headshots, and thus allowing a slight increase in the chance of a 2 headshot ending in 1 body shot to net a kill. And yes, the Jade Rabbit and other 150 scouts work with this setup as well. Oh, but the pure joy and bliss that fills my soul watching unfortunate targets boil over like an unwatched pot. Divine. I will divulge a few smart fragment choices shortly, but first I need you to understand the limits of your Skyburner knife combo. Because both sources of damage are projectiles, I recommend getting good practice leading and predicting target movements, as it can be easy to over and undershoot your shots. The Skyburner will fire in full auto from the hip, so don't be afraid to be generous with your slugs. Your knife, of course, is the real key to your success. Make sure you are in a position to at least body shot your threat before dipping back into the safety of cover. If you were extra generous with your Skyburner's damage before initiating your throw, the body shot may outright kill. If you were efficient, however, you will need to wait for the 1.5-second ignition timer to trigger. And of course, a headshot will always kill outright. And lastly, the subclass. This combo is so thoroughly lethal, you will have a copious portion of freedom to dictate your particular preference of preemptive opponent preparation. As a baseline, you will almost certainly want to run Knock 'em Down aspect with the Ember of Torches fragment to refund your knife off of knife kills. To play heavily into the ability regeneration, use the fragments Searing, Singeing, and Benevolence. To play heavily into the ignition use of fragments, Char, Eruption, and Ashes. Archibald, where normally I would encourage you into secrecy, today I chose violence. I want to watch the world burn. And oh, this is but a fraction of the extent destruction this build could bring upon the Crucible and raids. Go forth and light the world ablaze. Reginald Cornwall von Skyburner.